Hey everyone, what would you normally call it when a company cuts positions? You'd probably call it a layoff, but what if you incentivize people to voluntarily lay themselves off? According to CNN, number one in fake news, it's not actually a layoff. See, CNN has let go of, or he voluntarily bought out 100 people, roughly, employees. They've moved to a new office space. I guess Warner wanted to consolidate things more, make it more efficient because they're losing money, I guess. And so they had a round of voluntary layoffs that they extended to certain people. Like, hey, if you want, you can stop working for us and we'll give you this severance package, essentially. We'll give you this bonus, this incentive. We'll keep your health care going for a couple of years. We'll give you a car. And they can negotiate with people on those terms. And about, I guess, 100 people took those terms. Now, if a company is doing that and not replacing those positions, would you not say that that is fundamentally the same as a layoff, only maybe more gentle on the worker? It might be nicer than giving them just a pink slip saying bye after 20 years of work. See, this is basically CNN's way of downsizing with good optics. That's what this amounts to. That makes sense since CNN's ratings are at an all-time low. They've been declining relative to their competitors. Look, I've used this before. Despite the fact that the population of the world is growing, despite the fact of increasing global availability of U.S. communication services, cable news, the U.S. companies, or the U.S. subsidiaries of the multinationals, rather, has been shrinking. That is, you've got a big pond and it's slowly draining out. Now, the fish inside are competing for less and less space, but it is possible for them to look more healthy situationally. It's possible for one of them to be more buffed up than the others. For instance, Fox News says, well, we're number one again. Our ratings are higher. Yes, but you're cannibalizing them from other cable audiences. Those are dwindling. They're dwindling because statistically, the highest cable watching demographics are the oldest. They're simply dying over time. They're not being replaced by younger people. More than half of Gen Z don't even have cable. In the standard sense, cable is already dead. The youngest demographics don't give a damn about cable news, especially, or basic cable in general. On demand will eventually start to falter and fall by the wayside. You've got essentially the fusion of TV and radio with internet now anyway. Everything is a bunch of apps and takes place on networks that are interconnected with the internet. Nobody is connecting directly to their direct cable bullshit. Nobody cares about it. Real problem is it's going to kill like local stations and stuff like that do sort of the more local reporting, which, by the way, is why these multinationals are so concerned about going after independent journalism. Oh, they're terrified by it because then it'll begin to replace that as it dwindles on local cable stations. Independent citizen journalists will take over. Oh my God, they might have to pay the money in order to get access to the content. They might get frozen out of that content through copyright. Wow. So in other words, multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations would go out of business if that were to happen. I wonder why they're trying to get us all censored. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it and think about the money. Now, CNN's not laying people off. No, yeah, our ratings are at multi-year lows and they're still falling and nobody trusts us, and Fox and MSNBC are basically the big cable networks now, but we're not laying people off, we're just buying them out voluntarily. Yeah, we're just we didn't need these positions. Yes, you're downsizing, that's the whole point. Stop with the newspeak. I know these people are very good at propaganda, most of their audience will believe it too. They're downsizing. Why does a company downsize? It isn't because it's growing. It's not raking in more money. It's not saying, wow, we're optimistic about our future. We need to hire more people because we're going to be expanding soon. They're not. They're downsizing. They just moved to a new office space. What do you want to believe that it's smaller than it was before? Probably is. Probably they made some of the situations so cramped that people would take the buyout. What kind of terms did they offer in the buyout anyway? How much money are they giving? I mean, if you've got some New York City dwelling person working at CNN, they must have a fairly decent income if they're not living 10 to a flat anyway. So, what are we talking, 5 or 6 figures basically are you offering the lower level people who you're trying to buy out? What about the management that you're probably letting go of? By the way, at least other cable and news firms have had the finesse to say, yes, indeed, we are downsizing. CNN, though, is so gunked up by its own propaganda, they won't even admit to that. They would rather sit there and split hairs over what it means to lay someone off and what a voluntary buyout is. Same end result, the person's job is gone, and it hasn't been replaced. There's a point to that. You're downsizing. It's like if I were to say, hey, YouTube. I'm like, oh, my view count is dropping, diminishing bad. So I'm withdrawing. But I'm voluntarily making only 3 videos a day now. You would say I'm downsizing my ambitions on a platform now, wouldn't you? No. It's just a voluntary buyout of my video space. I'm gonna do it somewhere else. Yeah, it'd be because things are shrinking. CNN's YouTube channel. I can't wait till that starts shrinking too. Poor propagandists. Propaganda usually pays very well, I guess a little bit less lately. Now that people can get news and analysis and humor and everything else under the sun for free on fucking YouTube or anywhere else from a million different commentators and activists and political wonks and everything else under the sun, why the hell would you want to watch CNN? They're pulling out all the stops to try to block out new organic growth on every independent channel and platform that they can. They're doing that not without good reason. It's just a fiscal move to them. It's all about the money. They didn't care about politics. They'd embrace Trump if you gave him a chance, if they thought it would make him more money. And it probably will. As Scott Adams still says that they're likely to start doing that before the election. Yeah, there's some reason to believe that could happen. Because if he loses, then they've got to stop the clickbaity Trump articles, and they'll have to, if a Democrat wins, a boring neolit like a Biden, they'll have to pretend situation normal. They won't have anything to talk about. It'll be a slower news day. And then the only people who will have popularity will be people on the weird side of YouTube talking about Nibiru and bullshit like that. So yeah, CNN, don't worry folks, everything's fine. It's basically like watching the Titanic slowly sink into the ocean while the band is still playing. Yeah, there's a gaping hole in the hull. Don't worry though, it's a voluntary opening up to the ocean. It's basically what CNN is doing. Really funny to watch them try to spin it too. No, our ratings aren't falling. They're just voluntarily decreasing. That's about all. Peace out.